Sangaya Namo Buroyame Namo Budaya Namo Dharma Namo Sangaya Ma Samanje Me Shera Parojin Ma Ye Ma Nga Nam Ye Ngo Ni So So Ra Re Ye She Che Ye Wa De So Ya Ve Yo La Cha Ze Lo De Ya Da Ga De Ga De Pa Ra Ga De Pa Ra Sama Ga De Bo De So De Ya Da Ga De Ga De Pa Ra Ga De Pa Ra Sama Ga De Bo De So De Ya Da Ga De Ga De Pa Ra Ga De Pa Ra Sama Mo De So Gere Dong Da Ya Jo Ji Wan Da Mi De Ne Be Yen Dan Ten Ban Zhuo Ji Pe Zong Zong Ju Ne Da Shi De Ten Le Zhu Sa Xin Be Ni Zhu Xin Me Do Da Re La Yu Le Ji Ni De Ye Ba De San Ye Shen Do Me De Wa Ye Do Ge Nama Da Je La Che Ba Jo Ye Dang Guru Randa Mandela Nianda Yo Me
Sanje Shada
Sanje Chonam La Janjo Mado Dane Yabdo Dagi Shujuran Yebe Sonam Ye Anjola Bije Sanje Jomara Sho
Sanje
Shada Sanje Chonam La Janjo Mado
Dane Dagi Shuji Jebe Sanje
Dola Bije Sanje Jomara Sho
Sanje Shada
Sanje Chonam La Janjo Mado Dane Yabdo Je Dagi Shujuran Yebe Sonam Ye Dola Bije Sanje Jomara Sho
Sanje Sanje 토자라나마 야도 저서 이거 뭐좀 보시네 이거 teacher to the mission saying, who shall you see messages and celebrations.
So let's take a moment to cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation, or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. With that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta motivation, we should participate in this Bodhisattva's discourse on the perfection of samadhi or concentration. So we talked about the importance of and how to equalize self with others. And without equalizing self with others, really difficult for us to exchange self with others. And so we have been exploring different reasons, and why we should be equalizing self with others, and how can we do that. And among the reasons that are presented in this guide are that both self and others wish for happiness and do not wish for suffering. So in terms of those aspirations and the wishes, we're exactly the same. Okay? Now we might think that others' happiness and suffering do not affect me, and they just need to take care of their happiness, suffering. Now I need to take care of my happiness, suffering, because my happiness, suffering do not affect others. Others' suffering, happiness do not affect me. If that's the mindset or the thoughts that come into our mind, so how can we address them?
La sema suba la tabu kambe dungen tiang ne tele hembe se la be nyoa membe na she so la be dungen membe na judin chi je la ba di ne kambe dungen te son a se son miri bata talu she kang si nyoa po Kang dunge kai baten ti ji song chi so kang se yu kang dunge kai baten ti so yi she jo ru de an she yi dunge je ran me ne pe de this se to de me de do yam ge se wa de da na kang be dunge de la be la bala che menebe ti la bese wa mere bar te wa te ta lui sha ta di ji du nge tam ji ja sung mere ba jurna ha jang ta lu she jong je ba wo se jong je wo ti so ne gu so lui chai chi du nge hela jaros te da juder de che du nge de du so peno ya maris se de se ya du nge se da de wa de gro mi se ti no me kya ga se de you thought is the Gyeltsen. Then the combat doing la best in the Rimaros. Combat Sematos and the combat Nagrami, Lavar Joy Yamarwa. She said the combat Semasuba la best Severas. Today's in the middle of the combat Semas Laval New to la best Rimaras. She goes on, she was those back. So the Peno Jude, you say, Miribati in the middle of Judeo, those by Johnny. Then I saw the Kazakh social bedroom go doing it. That combat doing it, said, doing it, had the Zaka say me, I said, go doing it, combat doing called you Martiresi, reducing the Kawisar.
No, sir. Those of you who have the same translation of the guide, we are on page 119, and I think Ishra may have went back a little bit, and stanza number 99 is what we are looking at, which reads, surely whenever there is suffering, the sufferer must protect himself from it. But the suffering of the foot is not that of the hand. Why then does it protect it? Unquote. So as Krishna explained, that if we entertain these kind of thoughts, that others' happiness and suffering have as if nothing to do with me, and they don't harm me or benefit me, and neither my happiness and suffering benefit or harm them. And so that's why every one of us has to take care of our own suffering and happiness. If that's the thought arise in the mind, so then we need to consider these issues, which means that when we think in terms of rebirths, so why do we need to worry about what's going to happen in the future rebirth? Because that's not really benefiting or harming us anyway right now, right? But yet we feel concerned, and we are making efforts to prevent suffering in the future rebirth and to find happiness in the future rebirth. At the same time, if our foot is pricked by a thorn, painful, then why our hand kind of goes to help the foot to remove the thorn, because hand can say, well, I'm not getting hurt, it's the foot. I have no business with the foot. But we don't say that, right? So that's why a lot of those things that we do then become what called senseless. So in other words, what we're saying is that others' happiness and suffering are of our concern. We cannot think that we have nothing to do with each other and each other's happiness and suffering.
Pinja doing Pinja do Martina Jig Roger, Namji Lale Tarzeto, and Shashi goes on to Laneta Jidik, Shashaka got in here to go. So think here to is all the Rabdu Shantideva, Rabdu.
So that kind of thought that as if I have nothing to do with others' happiness or suffering, they have nothing to do with my happiness suffering, that mindset is what called makes much sense. If we follow that pattern, then a lot of the conventions that we follow started to fall apart and do not make any sense. As Geshe said, then why do parents have to worry about the happiness of their children? Whatever is happening with the children, that's really certainly not directly affecting their life. And why do the relatives, they try to help each other? And why do the friends or the couples, right? And because if each of us have nothing to do with each other, then every one of us should just think about oneself.
and we don't have to think about other persons. But that's not how we think, isn't it? Parents feel very concerned about children's well-being, as if this is really their responsibility. And it goes both ways, and the same as the relatives and friends that we try to help each other. And so all these conventions and our own life experiences, direct experiences, then started to make no sense at all, right? So, I mean, as we can see, the examples given are, what, we can verify through our direct experiences, and we do not want to contradict direct, valid experiences, isn't it? And if we think that, I have nothing to do with others' happiness or suffering because they are, not affecting me, and they don't have to think about my happiness, suffering, but that doesn't concern them, then all these direct, valid experiences we have, they really become senseless and they're not making sense. So we are contradicting direct, valid perceptions, experiences,
What is it? So that deep
So we can find plenty of other examples, and why do we care about each other's, and why do we extend our help at the time of the needs. This is what we do, right? And this makes sense, but then if we go with the thought that self and others have nothing to do with each other, then all these direct experiences that we have gained makes no sense, and we are contradicting our own, musum means the direct perceptions, valid, and experiences.
What is it? That can't be doing like la chung se je mene be that we Jimmy doing Geshe Gyeltsen river maya. The dad is the darker than by you. Ye Rugni Kumbe Yana Sabe Lundi can't be doing the La Vesua. La Jojing. Taking the jaw, I said, not the Shijo La Sobi. Lula Kaza, Chickpad, Rosa, Chickpad tea. The Gizaba Combe on Geshe. And yet, check it, the Chiki, Soala, Jogenas. To tell the lady of the Dharma is the Combat Colats. And that's where Gangaga began our young consideration. That is on the combe on in Sigoris. In Similica, that did a yomaris. Timeta and his Similica doing this Maris Lana. So this was that. Sinateta down the young, that she was in the Zibu Lord. Mirba Shila Tribe Kazak Dadu Zeba, the Titabu Shishalo Loka in Betini. Niembo Damitobi, Sheriff Gitoji, Sinumber, the Pawasha, Ye de Sibe Dungi Tamji, Sai so. Yana da come here, Rudy. Mirigba dungi tabu kaya ba tene shira meba chini ji bawa shawa yi shi charos deda ne rang nyung ju dungi je se rang ne la shen ji dungi je rang mene pe teda mene ji ne mene shebar yewe mizung par Yebe Sungbar Sungmiri so Yambes, the Gixos. Tirada, said the Tada Dishia Karishers, the Sheda, they do so the Penokaya Maritis, in the Dig Sheda, they do the say at the Duat, called Shigoya Mendus Lavida. In the Sudu Pesangasi, the Jawangasi did, or did the Pama Posas of what is a gang of Sitan, Toya Tia Disa. Is it Miss Sudu, the two messages say a man in the tradition say Maris. The seven Zina Lale, Jig Pendosia, Lumba Kora Kazaka, Chikayori. So the Muslim the year or what is what?
So basically, Kshala repeated his explanation here that in our mind, if these kind of thoughts arise, that what is happening to me, good and bad, happiness, suffering, are of my concern because they benefit or harm me directly, whereas whatever is happening to others, good and bad, happiness, suffering, it is of their concerns and their happiness and suffering, goodness and badness really not affecting me. So as if I have no responsibility or whatever for anybody else what's going with them. But then as we talked about before, then across the world, and our own experiences tell us that we should feel, and we do feel concern for others' well-being. And we do provide help for each other, right? And why is that? And why do we feel like that parents, they do so much for their children? And why do friends, support and help each other and show that concern? And why do the family members or the couples, right, they do that? And so those are all valid experiences, and so we are going against our own valid perceptions and experiences. No.
Oh, dear, what the Garrison did a concert, and the Dahing during the social so the check doing it, they do this. The check is a pendo Maricina, tell you the call doing a second, they want to go Maricina.
No.
But then it's your Nashi said this year. There was Pama possession. Any big girl told you, Jig Pedosia, this is on the Jigdin Yonjali. Lumaka Chico Yorba. She had luckily to Ganga years. And Chiga Shadi Ganga told me to Tayaki. Has a Muslim in Givita. Never to think of that.
So the reasoning we use to challenge or address that kind of problematic thought is that our direct valid experiences, tell us that's very different, isn't it? And so the idea, the thought is that I have nothing to do with others, happiness, suffering. Others have nothing to do with happiness, suffering, because we are different people, right? And I'm not them, and they're not me, so therefore, right, we have nothing to do with each other. But that's not how we feel and how we operate, function in the world, isn't it? The parents are not their children, but then parents, they do so much for their children, and the friends, they are not each other, but yet they help each other. So why is that? Right? If we say we are different, as if we have nothing to do with each other, then why all these things we are doing? Why are we so much concerned about future rebirths, good or bad? That's not affecting right now. It is sometime in the future, right? So why different people are showing so much loving kindness and care for each other? They are not each other, really. So all these direct experiences, tell us is the reason or the sort of antidote that we use to address that thought that I have nothing to do with others' happiness or suffering, or they have nothing to do with mine.
That talk about it. I made you bunga. Gele ngaji rimaga this. Tinha mendate. Kaza shena. Dreamy so ibi. Tedalani. Pinzu semi juicy butter. Look, it's so much about tabu. Come, maybe. ane penzu chik dunga chik sung mizung la rang chenga zidang ya gyensho so je so ni sem ju chik ba yimbe mao bi dunga yang tada ni sung rik ba bia rik la chade rang kang la so ni luki chokpa chik ba yimbe kangpe dunga yang labe sung rik xienes wada tel te so te jagman te so luki de para kangpa dunga laba la mino na chokpa chik res kangsa chik chokpa so chokpa chik ri simse xenda de sima juta de res pungwa chokpa chik ma ri xenda te jagman te so dunga jiwa nga si dunga sung rik res kangsa xie sung rik ma ri so da take thokpa longkar.
So now then, different thoughts might arise, such as, whatever is, like say, happening to different parts of my body, right? Of course, if my foot get hurt, my hand should help, right? Because they are part of the same body. It's mine, right? My body. And of course, I should be concerned about my later part of the life or future lives, because later part of the life and early part of life belong to the same continuum, mental continuum. And my future life is my future, isn't it? It is the same continuum. Whereas what's happening to other people, we are very different mental continuum, very different entities, people. So therefore, I thought myself, it's not the same,
sung rik xena ne xiba kaji nga si tuma chik jiso kangpe dungyen yang lape sung rik xena xiba kaji nga si tuma jiso chik ju ne rin shunga ju ne ju xe tang goda kang la so ba ni yen la tuma shao ji din de ba la so ba xie xiao te da ni bian de qing do nga xi gu ba li ju ba la qing wa xie da ba su xia chou ma nga ji ji qing wa ma xie wen zhuo da chou me qing wa xie da ji da xi qing do da chou ma te da le xie bi chou wa me ba da di xian du da leng gang dang so te ma xiao ji de ba da ma ji da ba da xi da lang so de da le xian be ma me ba la so ba xian du zun ba yin de ju ji xi ba jie ge nga ji yo ma bu so ba ye la te ma la yu de so xi da wa zhen xie ye da xi de da li xie be yu de so ba jing de sa de ba zhe wa me be so kong ge la sa ba xie wa li de ba de chu ji zi jing zhe wa la chu ju xie ba de xing te men de wa na xi xie wa la so de da ni yu cho jing mi jing che ba ye sung mi rik ba yin sa wa wu si wo de zang chu tu da nga ji te ma yu ji wa la ni chu yu si yang zhi wo wo te ma lo de ge de wa za de me wa za de yo ma ri si se de ga ga jing jing de wa xi wa de ta ji gua ji yang ri si现在这这民族吧，有的人现在呢，一点小鸡个挺没东西，我在这意思是吧
？So earlier we said that if we feel like, I am not others, others are not me, their suffering and happiness are of their concern, I have nothing to do with them, and my happiness and my suffering is my concern, they have nothing to do with it, as if, that's what we say, because I'm not them, they're not me. Every one of us should be responsible for our own happiness and suffering. So if we think that way, as we said, a lot of the things we do for each other on a regular basis, they tell a different story and they do not make any sense. Our direct experiences that, as we said, as friends, we help each other. We don't say, I'm not you, you're not me, right? We are concerned and we do help each other as family members, as parents help children and vice versa. And so we are doing all of those things despite the fact that we are not each other. So we could think for each other and we could do something to help each other resolve suffering or find happiness. And so that's why we said when any part of my body gets hurt, of course my other parts of the body come to help it, because at the end of the day it's a part of the same body, and that's my body. But if something happens to others' body, that's not my body. So as if again I said I have nothing to do with that. But then this kind of is my body, right? It's mine, is that we are so habituated for such a long time to, grasp at I and mine, isn't it? So because of such habituated way of thinking, then we are feeling that way, isn't it? So in some sense, we could learn to cherish others as well. So as we get habituated in cherishing others, then our thinking will change and we will feel for others' well-being. So nothing really exists, as we would say, intrinsically in and of itself. Things are dependently existent. When we think in terms of consciousness or mind is constituted by a series moments of mental events. So that together is a mind. Or that when we think about a body of water, it is a collection of many water particles or the drops, so that make it water. Or when we think of forest, it's many trees come together make a forest. When we think of an army, it's a lot of soldiers put together, we call it army. When we think of a mala, rosary, it's so many beads put together, it's called mala. Nothing is there that exists intrinsically as we are grasping at, and then thinking influenced by that.
What is it? Deep, but Java do I say that they sit on the convert not do like no car, this and that's the good is hungry cause that watching rares. That here the work hard is that way. She did Sukuman to see this over. This was that Java said to your mother, she's a good. So that Java said, me现在扩大送嘛送给接下去的悄悄是没有啥事儿吧？那的时候可能没位置，是的确把钱都没的是，我的是我的。
So in the guide, it makes that when different parts of my body get pain or get hurt, then of course other parts of my body help them. Why? Because they're all part of the same body, and it is my body, as a matter of fact. So we feel like there is I that is the owner of this body, and I has the ownership over this body. And so that's why everything is glued together by that grasping, right? It's my body, of course. It's my foot that's hurting. Of course, my hand should help whatever it can do. But when we look at that, the way we, misperceive, look at the I, as if there is an owner that owns the whole body, there is no such intrinsic I or the self, right? So to claim as if that intrinsic self has an ownership over the whole body is a fiasco. It's just non-existent, right? There is no such owner. It's just that we got habituated in that kind of thinking pattern for such a long time. That's all there is.
this is Karsa. You did also doing younger Rama, the woman, the Rama change, doing it, Shitameva. Yeah, the watching music. Sung me, you me, Brilla. Tanya the Dada, Shema, Pentatoni, showers of you, Tadadi, Dunga, the Sumba, Yubi, Rog Dunga, Sawashan, the Shay Dunga, Sawaya, Dagi, Beva Rixu. This was that. The dogs is about to go Sikora Garcia. Corona was huge beside me, and there I charge her to Maris. They do, you know, this also seems so in the Jack Jose, the Casa Society, doing New York, I check by yours. Check by your ends, I did say, so doing music, share doing you, Mari. So the team is a say, check what is, or this is it.
From Bodhisattva's mindset and practice point of view, we should feel concern for others' well-being, and we should really do whatever we can to help each other. We should not, kind of divide self and others as if we have nothing to do with each other. Self and others exist relatively or referentially, isn't it? I'm called self, right, from others' perspective, right? Others are others from my perspective. Nothing exists intrinsically, with self. So conventionally, right, self and others coexist referentially or relatively. So when anyone experiences suffering or happiness, qualitatively it's the same. The suffering we experience and the suffering others experience, there is no qualitative difference. The happiness that we're seeking and the happiness that they are seeking is qualitatively the same. So as much as we feel that it is right and proper to work for our happiness, it is equally right to help others find their happiness. It is right for us to think that I should protect myself from suffering and get rid of the suffering, and it's equally right for us to think that others also deserve protection from suffering, and their suffering is a suffering after all. So it is an object of abandonment. There is no difference at all there.
Oh, dear. You did it, you get that would maybe. Rosie doing it, she ran me. That watching measure case, so much America. Tanya the dad, she Tenzin Dorjee, showers of you, Tibetan doing young, doing the sober you, Rag doing a so shady, she doing a sailor, dark beaver resource. Or do that is him, but he only said, he can see my dad, River made a corolo, he read, said the dad, River made a dear dad, River Sumos said, that take Maris. Dad, River Coromir, that one said, Yomaras. Tell the senior Coragale, put the one you are doing, Jesus, Chiba, and the solo doing a say, Simply here, Chiba doing here, Chiba Penito and Johnson doing a Chiba Yungo. Said that this was also doing a Savage with she doing a say, they are doing release. Or they turned up as some kid, Tanya Chiba Yoris, this was delicate. That's about the Danny Marianza, and the dad the American Nashi Yomers in Lavna, they take Marzi, call Lolo Giziris. So Lolo Giziris is called Samachia Yomara of this sort.
So here, of course, we are looking at things from Bodhisattva's discourse and perspective. And the way we seems to function kind of making it a big deal between self and others, as if we have nothing to do with each other, this is primarily because of our getting habituated with a particular mindset of grasping at I and mine, isn't it? And so when we look at the objects we are grasping at, the referent objects, Shengyul in Tibetan, it's something that doesn't exist at all. There is no intrinsic I or there is no intrinsic mind, yet we grasp at them, isn't it? And so because that is our experience so deeply ingrained in us, we are trying to justify everything from that point of view, right? Anything happens to me is a big deal, right? Anything happens to others is, I don't care. I guess I didn't say that. I think like I have nothing to do with it. So this whole mindset and how we function is really not, how should I say, reasonable, because we are under the influence of grasping at self, and grasping at self is a distorted perception, isn't it? It is not a valid perception. But what is correct for us is to understand that self and others exist relatively, referentially. That's only conventionally, right? From others' point of view, they point at you as that's you, not me, and it's just like, from which perspective we are looking at. That's all there is to it, nothing more. So from that point of view, we and others are exactly the same thing. Happiness that others are seeking, and the happiness that we are seeking, and the suffering that we don't want, the suffering that they don't want. And both sides, we are doing everything to protect ourselves from suffering and find happiness. We are exactly the same. There is no difference. If we feel that my happiness is something worth to be accomplished, it's exactly the same that others' happiness is worth to be accomplished. If I feel that my suffering is something that should be prevented and gotten rid of, it's exactly the same. There is no suffering others experience that is like, okay, maybe keep it. Right? There's nothing. Every suffering needs to be abandoned, isn't it? So therefore, it is proper that we do show concern for each others, and that even though we are not each other, we still could, right? And we do, feel concerned about each other, and we help each other.
Sungpa yobes, rang dunga sewa hini, shenyi dunga sewa la ya. Da ge beba rig sos, o dim ja, da, porque da driba sunga, da driba de meja, tanyi driba de da de shen sa yorwas. Sheda da de shen yorza, da dunga da, shenyi dunga yori, da dewa shenyi dewa yor, dirno shi, shet soza, 소소가 되어 주고야다 동네세가 요나시 심지셔다 지금 두지 시바송자 인소 되어 주어다 동네세와나시 심지셔다 되어 주어다 동네세고 그리스 어디서다.
So as Krishna read from the extensive commentary and explained that there is no intrinsic I or mine, but yet we grasp at them. And that is the ground we are standing and we are functioning. And that's why we make a big deal about self and others, and we feel like we have nothing to do with each other. But those graspings are distorted thoughts, and so therefore they are not valid. We shouldn't trust them and take their side, because there are distorted cognitions there. But what is real is that both self and others exist conventionally or nominally. And on that level, so there are happiness of self and others, happiness of suffering of self and others. So they do exist conventionally. So conventionally, as much as one feels that I have the right to pursue my happiness, right? then we also recognize that others have the same right to pursue their happiness. Not only they have the same right, actually we should do what we can to help them find their happiness, because happiness is qualitatively the same, and whether it's your happiness or somebody's happiness, it's worth striving for, right? So as much as we feel that I don't want suffering and I have the right not to be, in pain, it's the same with other people. So not only that they have the same right and aspiration, but we should feel concerned about their problem, suffering, and do what we can to help them. Okay. So Geshe wants to make sure that we understand the distinction we are making between how ordinary people normally seems to operate thinking as if there is an intrinsic I or a self, and that owns the whole mind, including body. And so because of that mindset, so we make a big deal between self and others, and it is as if we have nothing to do with each other. Yeah? But such a mindset is not reasonable, because there is no such thing as intrinsic I or mind, and we are simply grasping at them, and these are distorted cognitions. So of course we should not trust distorted cognitions and run our life under their influence. But as much as we refute intrinsic I and mind, we also assert actually there are self and others, isn't it? Conventionally and nominally. We are not saying that, okay, now nothing exists at all. No, I exist, others exist. And my happiness, suffering exists, others' happiness, suffering exists. It's all at a very conventional and nominal level. And as we have been saying all along, that both self and others on that level, we are equalizing with each other, because self and others are referentially existent, and happiness and suffering that self and others experience are qualitatively the same thing. We both have the same aspirations for happiness and not for suffering. We both have the same right to pursue happiness and to prevent and resolve suffering. Not only that as we do feel concern for each other's well-being, that's correct. We should. Right? As much as we pursue our happiness, in whatever way, we should also pursue others' happiness. And as much as we make efforts to prevent suffering for ourselves and resolve it, we should also try to do the same thing for others, because nobody likes suffering and everybody wants happiness. We are just the same. We are not exception to the rule, right? We try to make it. No.
Oh, dear, that. Teaching this, because Guru Meva Pinzutani, she was a Yimatena. Teaching you, teaching this, teaching you. She loved you, Leja. That the Shin, Devate, Paru, Surishin, she is. The water rang paru me. Kaladen Suru Yodani Dani Rangi Madrona Kaladen Shindi Jur Hisong Las Shuparu Sursus Parsus, the Shuparales and part of the Surre there. Surre Parre there. Tena so that's all you remember you. Parts and Jundra, such way. Sa paralysis, she surgery, surgery party, or the total said they shall go this word.
Nice. So as Krishna read, and in his extensive commentary, Shiksha Samukhtya, or compendium of Bodhisattva's trainings, is cited, and in which it is stated, as Krishna explained, just as self and others are referentially existent or relatively in reference to each other, we posit self and others, just like we referentially can talk about this side and that side, right? This hill and that hill, or that side of the riverbank and this side of the riverbank, isn't it? It's just nominally something that exists. There's no intrinsic this side of the river or that side of the river, right? If you're standing right here, you look to the other side, oh, that side of the river. Now you move there, so that becomes this side and this becomes that side, because nothing says it is what it is, right? It's just, how you referentially and nominally think about it. So the same is true with all kinds of phenomena, and that's why we say phenomena. For lack of a better word, I thought in English, the word we use, false, I think maybe it's deceptive, right? There's a disparity between how things appear to exist and how actually exist. So that's a deception, It's a deceptive appearance there,
Oh, the part of Nigeria is that, the total corner, Georgia, the party, the peerless, the surgery, the Dashan, the Harris. She total corner, China, take a Karsa, this show you, Tasho, which is part of the Jimmy Tony de Kaimaris. So that Dashan said, Dojo going to that show the Dahin Shamaris or this is it.
So it's a matter of perspective taking, isn't it? We might feel as if there is a huge kind of big deal between self and others, but that's pretty much misinformed by our sense of intrinsic I and others. But that doesn't exist, isn't it? So I and others only exist in reference to each other. And from others' point of view, they refer to you as you. From your point of view, you refer to yourself as I, So it is just that referential thing, just like Geshe said, if you are standing on this side of the hill, you look over there like, oh, that hill looks whatever. But now you climb that hill and then look through this side, so that hill becomes this hill and this hill becomes that hill, isn't it? So it is just, perspective taking. There is no intrinsic ness to phenomena.
No, that's how is it.
So Geshe would like to stop there and welcome your questions. First, I'll go to Facebook or social media, and then I'll come back. No? Okay, good. So now we can come back. Where is the traveling mic? Oh, there, good. You got it. Yes. Yes. Oh, you want to ask a question? No. Oh, you are in charge of you are the intrinsic mic owner. I'm just kidding. Yeah, go ahead. Please take it away. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems labeling the body as my body and holding it to exist truly, does that make a difference in the experience of pain? Is that seems to be what Geshe is saying, because otherwise it's only words.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to have some kind of make a material difference in the experience of pain and suffering.
Okay, how you experience the pain or some pain.
Because it's almost sounds like too much sophistry, really, just to make the distinction between my body or your body. It has to make some kind of a difference. Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
If we label it,
right.
does it change anything?
Okay. Corona condition this again, that and then the chance again the desert shavler again, Paritsurination again. The Namjing and the Sosugi, the what domain delia, Jake Narang Shindu University, the Galquatsa Mercy again, Shelia, that Jake Kirsa Shetigo again. That is a Jake Carso that the Rangshi Dube Ta the Chop Mazimache Roage, Tanya de Betal some time in a roge, Ta the chance and Theja Reshas Labrova. In their songs are Ralia Tewachum, but the Shan Tewachum Chiba Laroge. In it, that Rang is Louis the Shang Louis the Kabashi the Yorwasa Roge. Geshe on the Tanya do Tashini, the Tessa de Shabina, and Rang Lula Tewatunga, but the Shang Lula Tewatunga Chumunia. Young Georgia or again, they on the Kabayo Marvesa, me Shangulini Shangulu was again. Ranglin Ranglua. Just Tanya do the summer time by in the Tawatumelia Yondalia Kabaka Yomares again. The summer time when I just talked about real and the Wadi chair to make the Chumar in go again.
Today, this was you guys. Today, so no summertime. And yen news doing a set on a show you not do yet. Joashima Yago, Tata God, you are detailed my issue. She said, Joashima concert, Tata Juju concert, Hakaro. She said, Tata Joashima doing it, Tata concert, taking you go Yamako, Juju, you go.
Loskima did it, Korang did some with again, and so Tanya do Rovage. Then Tada chance again, Shala Rovage. Just a rangi Tewada Tungelia, social Chuda Chekovanashi, Shing Tewa Tungel Chuda Chokolas Lavage. Some of the English cave in us Rovage. She did socially at Tewach on the Tewe Yongzoche Rovage. Tungajan Tunga Yongzoche Rova, Tanashi Shanley at Tewa Tungegi, Yongzo the Liajik Tada and the Sol and Mandarishungo Reverse again. Just Sonajungo again. But again, the Rangshin Robert Zimba in any chick Tawada to me, Rangshin Robert Zimba, the Tawatume, the Chica Mandarish in Yungo, Karingo again. Rangshin to Mazimba, Tanya, the Tawatunga, Yorua, Konyon, Vina, Yanko test, Chumaris, your got a Karchu, that called Dilagorg, sometime that's your again. Can't sense of it. The what do is a your marriage. She Tanya de Yoris. Or Tanya de Samudama de Ketawa to me, worse younger, Yomel Karkeba do Ores, or Rangshin to Zimba, the Wadunga, the other Yoma, the Zina Tawadunga, Chumar, the Cherish to Tanya the Chevina, Roge. Mandaris. This is so doing a do here doing a seven, and the dog driver taking so the dog driver soon tell us and Shomaris. She said, the dog driver do all of he did. Till called 7 year Maris. In a that did some of the chamber again. She do got that shing to me some tango was done by nine shing to me, rang to me, you do got to me the chung to what a carriage was a similar Gurjestan again. The penny of the carriers again, the what to me. Some of the Gurjestan again. They get the one Yoman and the one Yonda del Mandaris, your to me, Yoman to me, Yonda del Mandaris carriers again. The camera said that I could so doing say they are doing this here, they doing the say Madrid, this some of the day go out. Take good and that day, my doing a chickbody, doing you a chickbody do. Chickbody in the Tana, she doing this so Penuka Mari, and so doing a so Penuka, and so doing say they are doing still landing your. No, so. The angels are day and the job was it, and the Lord gave Jean Basla, gave it to me, Chundi Yuma. Give it to me, say after Chundi not do it. Josh Himalia, they do the girl, they take my ass. No, so. Okay, now let me translate what Geshe said. Hopefully the answers here, but I don't think Geshe is trying to address what you actually asked. I tried to push so much there. Because Geshe is just kind of explaining the whole purpose of this kind of thinking analysis, right? And normally, like ordinary people, they think a big deal, anything happening to them, and this is primarily informed by our graspings, isn't it? And so we feel like I'm disconnected from everybody else, everybody do their thing, I will do my thing, right? So we want to address such mindset, actually we should feel for others. So to do that, we said, well, we should conventionally, referentially think this, we are all related, isn't it? Without others, self doesn't exist. Without self, others don't exist, you know. So it's the same thing, you know. That's what Geshe is trying to explain, yeah. Any other questions anybody would like to? Yeah. Yeah, if not, please continue.
Yes. Maybe I shouldn't follow up on that, but what is the example? Simple question. What's the meaning of? There's an example of Maitri Yogin. There's a guru called Maitri Yogin. It's a famous example. Somebody giving a teaching on sitting on a Maitri Yogin. It's called.
Oh, I don't know that word. What's it?
No, it's a name. Maitri Yogi.
Oh, Maitri Yogi, yes.
Yeah, Maitri
Oh, Maitri Yogi. That's the name of it, I think.
Yeah, it's a name. So he's giving a teaching, and he sees somebody throwing a stone and hits a dog, and he fell off the throne.
Yes.
And they thought that he was just putting on a show, but he lifted his shirt, and there was a wound there. What is the meaning of that? Is that an example of a very deep connection, not on a conventional level?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Kurang this siguro kita dari kurang kan di shue di nendri sera penang anjo chamben nenjo rawage. chamben nenjo sengen je rawage. Nenjo ba de ki kare chik chumju yamar ba luju ji mi shang ba je ki kil to shune chamben nenjo kurang ya di to shue ben yongzo chung se je rawage. 제가 디디 로하게 어디 제가 권한기 다미 년조바 디기 공부 세다다 로하게 다다 신이라 로하게 다 삼을 당겨 여러하게 니네 그 제가 킬 도시에 나타도 수용해 딘데기 다 가르쳐 버려 다다 신이 버르 대화디 시부 사보여바디 삼을 당 충분히 나사게 말하게 단 남집에 다 랑시 두바 인디 코스 용셔야 말하게 코킬 도시를 가는 쉬어 말하게 이제 다고 삼을디 로하게 디서다 디기 인바이나사 신기 초와 동엔데 소소레 토에디 다다 신이가 그 상부당다다 된다 송대야 되기 디기 뉴슈르 베스 거다
지당도 디케자 가마리 단다디 가르스네 지당기 다 동에디 가서 신이 동에 소소 문이고 말이 대화도 소소 펜도요 말이스 제다디 신이 동에서 대화도야 시고 말이스 자 담세도 들으셔고요 대샤도 다는 생각하시다. 겨가지 소도 대화도야 너다. 내가 뭐 내가 어디가 좋아하지 마. 단데 내가 되게 피가 연구 말이 내가 내도 연구에 된다 내가 말아 거기 가가리 왔어. those goes with it 거.
단데 참배 내적을 룩지 되려 그냥 가르쳐야 돼. 킬로 도시는 소소리야 나자 충분로와. 디베시 신 가자 신제비 진진 디기 그다 심단이 보시고 좀 충분히 가르래서 그러게 다디.
됐다. 그래서 년저막 그 거는 거부터기 근데 내가 있어라 봐.
다지다 간 신진진 기타 투르 치래대 그러게. 신진진 투르 지 뉴발락데 치고요.
That's bad. 신 동에서 내가 다신 얌제도 등을 내가 랑 소견다 콤바시 토치버선자 인터랙이 그 카도 등을 신 등을 먹어서 그소소 뉴 줄려야 지고 있죠.
All right, so now give me somewhere, right? Because again, Geshe went somewhere else. Like he's re-explained the same thing. Like the story we're telling you. So again, maybe I'll do the story translation first and go back to what Geshe said before. So that kind of narrative, we said Maitri Yogi, someone I think threw a rock at the dock or something and took the pain. So that shows, the cherishing others. Right, the development of cherishing others, and through the Tonglen practice, right, the practice of giving and taking, that when you have grown so much in that power, so that connection between self and others, I think through that one is able to sometimes feel the pain for others. That's what Geshe was saying. The earlier what Geshe said, same thing. He wants us to bring our attention back to, right, the thesis that's being challenged is that, okay, I don't care what happens to others. If anything happens to me, then it's me, right? They should think for themselves. So that kind of a mindset we have is problematic because it is grounded in self-grasping, right? And then exists. So only when we know that the self we are grasping at doesn't exist, everything is relatively a referential existence, now we're able to take other perspective taking, right? So that's what Geshe wants to address them, yeah. Anybody else? Oh, you have something? Okay, could you get the mic here too?
I'll read the
Oh,
question.
you have it. Oh, good.
So someone says, my pain is my pain. Your pain is your pain. I can't experience others' pain. So can you try to clarify the point Geshe is trying to make? Thank you.
Piki tajet on the country share the Roagan. The Tiring Sungju share Roa. The Quran's Penang Ngala can Tidu Courage over even Roagan. Did not read Tidu rest or getting young the Roas or again. She only Tidu Courage when the Quran young the Roas or again. Just like she Tidu the Shambin young the Ngare Tidu Ngare Young, which is the Tiring Sungju Nai, the that need you Mama Kashi or rest or again. She to many shing to me Roas or again. Shing Tidu young the then shing young the Roas Yang or Maris or again. Ngare Young then Ngare Young or Roasa. So that the Tiring Sungju Nai, the Ying dinner of the Karso was shing to me young the shing young or Mangan Yang or so Karso or again.
Marty, Tingre Dunga, Noya, Gaja Kai Mari. So there was Jogoya, the Hang, they do the Shiminu, or Tilo Goya Tondala. So category, they go here, go rich. And so we got the here, go Mars, or Tim was not Angora.
No, sir.
Tim was not I need Raj in the Shukshur, the Hinge in the Shukshur, shower.
No.
So
the what's called the purpose behind all the discussion today is not so much that we're saying that whatever others are experiencing, right? Of course, they are experiencing it. We may not be experiencing it. What we are experiencing, they may not experience. So we're not necessarily saying that we can always take each other's suffering or happiness on each other. What the purpose of today's discussion is that normally, we only seem to think very for oneself, self-centered person, isn't it? Anything happens to me, big deal. And anything happens to others, I don't care, or indifferent attitude, right? So that's wrong, what you're saying, right? That mindset, that the thought is wrong. And as a matter of fact, we said, self and others, exist referentially. So without others, they cannot be self. Without self, there cannot be others, So as much as we think, I have the right for happiness and I don't want suffering, we also respect and acknowledge that others have the same wish too, right? So I cannot say, I don't care what happens to you. It's the same right, we have acknowledged that, right? So we are trying to change our mindset here, isn't it? So that we become more caring, that we are able to counteract our indifferent attitude, right? What happens to others, it happens to others, So that's primarily the focus and the purpose of discussion today, yeah.
And there was actually, I think perhaps just an observation or a comment. And there's actually a question in it too, but I'll just read it and you can interpret. Is it not reasonable that one practical lesson of this teaching is that we must see ourselves and others as members of the same body? In this thinking, we might not be able to remove others' pain, but we might reduce their suffering through compassion.
Later part, can you repeat the second part? We may not be able to remove their suffering, but?
We may not be able to remove others' pain, but we might reduce their suffering through compassion.
We may remove their suffering through compassion?
Yes, we might reduce their suffering through compassion.
Or reduce the suffering through compassion. Did you say earlier that we and others are see as the same body? Did you say something like that?
Yeah.
What does that mean? I need a clarification. You mean the same body as humanity, or?
Probably that's actually, yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I think probably same, maybe social body.
So read the whole thing one more time so that I can translate for Geshe.
I got you. Perhaps so.
Yes. Right. Right. Or literally we and others are the same body. Okay. Read one more time, please. Yeah.
I got you. Is it not reasonable that one practical lesson of this teaching is that we must see ourselves and others as members of the same body? In this thinking, we might not be able to remove others' pain, but we might reduce their suffering through compassion.
Okay, thank you. Now I heard it very clearly 3 times around. condition the this again Quran's some Juro which that did in Maravesh or again. Carso or the Penata, the Shing, and the Sangmalo, the Lude Mas on the Chigi, and Lacha, the Yamaravesh or again. Then their songs are Shingi, the Tungendi, and the better said that get to where you mar the ine. A sublet de tanga ina and shing to get the answer the Ningji come top Grawage, Chung drag Grawage. In that Keba Yungu Marves, that Ringi, that Sunjana, the that Lagne Ninger is keeping the Rawage. Round the Shins again, the Sokbachi and La Res Rawage. In their songs that Shingi to get the social Yungi the Mare de Passe to the Mene Rawage. She had a Ninja Comba Yimina, Shingi to get the Machur to Marves. She Ninja Comba in a shingy to get my chung do Marves, chung do to you go to was again.
She Ninja go and doing it, she do it, show doing the military. That's also a do.
No, son. Then I got so much chicken, yalla, is somebody to go over again.
So the Ninja competition, Pendos, Koya Sanga, today, Pendo, the Ijimara.
No, son. Anything as a kangaroo got so much chicken, yalla, some of them to go over that.
That's so much is and that it doesn't so come so much. Seems so much is
So what Geshe says is that where you said that we and others are members of the same body, right? The only thing that makes sense to Geshe is even thinking that we and others are all sentient beings, that same body. As part of that, then it makes sense. And by developing compassion for the others. Whether that compassion literally reduces others' pain or not, right? But the one who really gets the benefit is the one who has become compassionate, Maybe if that compassion grows strong enough that it might motivate you to help the others, right? To reduce their pain. That's what Geshe wants to say. Yeah. Okay. One more, sure. Yeah.
So Geshe has been emphasizing the point of this teaching here is to remove the obstacles to exchanging self for others, and the one of them is that there is no intrinsic difference between, that's obvious, between self and others. But the other point being that the other obstacle being thinking that other person's misery does not affect me, and that's questionable.
Which said that
the other person's misery does not affect me.
Maybe, right.
Yeah. So that's an obstacle to exchanging ourselves for others.
Okay. So why you say it's questionable?
The first one is obvious. There is no intrinsic
right.
difference between ourselves and others.
Right.
But that is not clear.
Right.
Well, for one thing, because the happiness of self and others depends on karma. This is the conventional right view. My karma is what will create my own happiness, and other people create. We cannot take the karma of others.
Right.
Just like even the Buddha cannot do that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Quran disagree. I got to the point you mentioned that Quran said you got that thing the sungju gerwage. Language so that kansan gandu thongma takshen nyaba kom dishol takshen cheba komedi chigorwage. Jesan takshen cheba la ya tanda ji gandu ta de rangshin ruba de zin rwage. And pungol wan jo ge ta rangshin ruba yue de ruba. Ane ngai dinner summertime when a quirky gajen chene and ta the shin che the yungu marwas gorwage. Dinner song da jada and a tanya do ta the shin sing jo mar rangshin ruba ge ta dinner yo mar summertime de rwage. Digging nyambur rwage. Chen chida ngata da kim chen cheli ya shen gi tewa dungen di social nig mar la rwage. Ta ko de chik situ kala dide ngusum cheru chago yo mar wes rwage. Shen gi dungen di social tega de nig yo mar social leg rwage. Social leg wang gi tewa dungen nyang go rwasa shen le de la ni san ji chum de gi chega mar social leg gar chebe de rwasa ge. O dide. Dike kongsu ke so.
Dide de be ka do sa ta de ka so 다게 냠제 검도서 냠아 공부를 세워라. 냠아 공부를 세워잖아. 이네 대화다 등에 대화 찍바이 뭐 찍장 지시 식대다 그 주대 가서 찍바 되어라. 이네 찍바래야 되네. 소소 대화도 저거 등에서 해야지. 생이 대화도 등에서 해고 딜로 매겨 인사 되게 다게 냠아도 공부를 했어. 냠아 대화 찍바 찍어야 되나. 다 소소 대화 좀 가자 등에서 생이 저거 말해서나 곧 가도 그때 장모를 해요 말하고. 제가 진짜 유대하고 상호동 그러면서 제가 다시 가서 말하고.
얘네 자기 그냥 찍지 삼단으로게 시행기 대화 동에 갈 뉴기 mendosla로 와게 다 거든 뭐 이제 차대로 와서
저 드는 전에 사 생각하시다. 겨가시고 저기 펜도
말말
로스에서 노르다 총 예배까지 등에서 더 노르마버 두고요.
라게 맞다 게게 되게 랑신도 건 쓰고 맞다 체단 타냐다 로와게
타냐다
베나 계실라 고나되게 있는 로와게 다디 동에디 nga naeske yo marwage ko ta ta di kesilα ko le sa ba de ko na de ngi roge da de sa yechom de che yo marwas ko da de to ko ngwe ne ju ko thone ko ne chana roge ko chumje shi ro chang
뭐 내주시는 소송 권하다 미해당 권하 지과래다 등에 지과라.
Okay, so Geshe is very sticking his gun to the whole purpose of this whole thing, and I'm just trying to push what you were saying. Maybe we're getting somewhere here. Yes, I mean, there could be individual karmas due to which we experience different things. You're right, Buddha cannot change anything like that. At this point, we are really not thinking about those things, right? What we're saying is that, if you feel that, it's right for you to aspire for happiness and do not aspire for suffering, it's exactly the same thing for others as well, If we recognize and feel that way, then we are not going to be indifferent to others' well-being. That's our main address here issue, isn't it? So I use the example, like say, if Geshe has a headache, right, it's not going to affect me, right? Maybe it's Geshe karma. Yeah, but that's what you said, But you should think that when you have a headache, how do you feel it? It's the same thing Geshe is feeling, of course. It's his karma, your karma, but, yeah. Yes, exactly, yes. Yeah. All right. Do we have any announcements today? Or any prayer requests or anything? I don't know. Bishop?
Just I want to say, empathy is not the same thing as compassion.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So I'll start first with the prayer requests. Tungmi jamju shungi khashushtu. Tselideva vu ti mui. Chone, pungbo sayin sarwa. No, tungmi narunas. Ani sonam pande, tselideva sonam pande. It's a kesan yarwagi. Kesan, the shala swingi. Okun pinja drungenshi. Because it moratamne, trumbers. Tungmi narunas. Ani sedan demba. Sarah Connor is now worse. Ani Taganashi Lu Kim Wang Sarva or the cancer Chimba cancer Nagi Sarva. Ani Korani Leani Nishisinda Yuan Tuminaranas. Dene Hua Wing Martin John Nilani Chawalam Yuan Tuminaranas. The prayer requests for the deceased today are for Vu Thi Mui, who passed away recently, and the funeral is today. Also, Sonam Pande, who is a relative of our Venerable Kesang, the one that works for us at TDL and who's currently in the kitchen. One of his relatives passed away this week in a car accident, so please keep them in your prayers. And then for prayer requests for those who are still with us include prayers for Sarah Connor, who currently has a staph infection, and then for Lu Kim Wang, who was recently diagnosed with liver cancer. May they experience a quick and full recovery from their illness. And then prayers for Hua Wing and Martin Chan, who are requesting prayers for success in their short and long-term wishes and endeavors.
Okay, so we will first do Avalokiteshvara salutation, prayer, and dedication for the deceased. And then we'll do Medicine Buddha salutation, mantra, and dedication for those who need healing or those who need success in whatever they're trying to accomplish. And then we'll do the rest of our Guru's long life prayers and regular dedication. Chadong Kolo Yobe Yebo Don Jendong Kewa Sangbe Sangye Don Kangla Kangde Tela Dedon Jumba Jenre Sela Chanze Lo Om Mani Peme Hum Mani Peme Om Mani Peme Om Mani Peme Hum Re Gewa Di Nyodo Da Jenre Sewan Rubjo Ne Dowa Chiyan Te Sanlang Ge Bara Sho Toje Kunla Nyombe Jomden De Cenzang Tebe Nianzhu Dunge Dosuan Neze Sangye Menje La Bin Chanze Lo Te Ta Om Bekaze Maha Bekaze Ranza Samu Gade So Tenda Om Bekaze Ma Beka Ranza Samu Gade So Ha Gewa Di Nyodo Da Membe Gewu Dowa Jija Ma Lue Ba De Sa Ge Bara Sho Lo Zhi Jia Zhi Yu Zhong Beka De Ge Sang Pong Wei Ju Do Minba Tenba Zin La Wang Do Ji Zhi Tanye Chogun Jola So Wan De Ma Wan Dame Kunjin Donga Den Kangri Jongso Ninda Sis Jamgun Jawa Niwa Yapse Jen Zhangson Tinzi Mawe Shiba Tinjin Jebe Jingguan Zebe Jen Shije Nigun Changju Tenju Longdo Tamje Bebe Beyun Jen Duja Gyazu Gundo Shabden Tesang Gondang Cheze Zombe Jen Yongzo Yure Tube Nyak Longri Dejen Nube Bedenba Tubden Kangri Tangbo Shabden Donang Gongmen Zeba Namda Gu Dendang Zhube Pende Zhube Tunzhu Gyumin Chebe Tenre Je Kesang Duje Tundo Shabden Chizi Lame Tuje Melamda Kesang Duje Dendang Zangmen Chozhon Dodo Jido Jida Memben Lungu Lundu Sho Ramja Shinge Gombo Tseba Men Zodo Namje Geyun Dhamma Chozo Zeye Lazo Tabje Je Tade Mishi Choge Ud Tubden Jedang Losan Gyawa Yi Shiro Tenban Zembe Beyu Tade Duje Gyongge Shinye Jo Yangde Ninje Ongbo Sowa Jigden Sumguen Chana Bemendo Denbe Anzawa Soso Tabo Lamda Sudin Yangda Lam Losan Yenden Bedo Shabden Sho Tujo Gyaltsen Nonjin Yangbe Sin Samjo Namje Changzin Junbe Gomjon Shila Songjo Debe Denbe Ngada Chenbo Shabden Sho Chebe Donga Kowan Bozo De Zhenbe Rilan Siyu Bumda Zhenbe Dunden Leishe Zhangzha Keizhu Xinye Chenbo Xiaden Sho Kebe Langdo Gushe Zeda Je Zhenbe Rang
上辈的这日我一切诺，顺天新年进步，下天说，天上如浪加为天地，面觉大觉上辈世间吧，立见在天，天地白晓，顿天新年进步，下天说，说son叫我世界见老当，土天当今送命说，大家拉上大别天。一大门本定根轮着说，强着心着人波切马杰巴那一着，给我娘巴没巴样，我来我陪我说，当年大我人波切马杰巴。给我娘巴没巴样，我来我都陪我说，啥些别见这些没到。日落07年的延邦的3节行动没，如果能到行了，就不说抗日热为国为新感受，平淡的我马律中为，今日是我天津教的，下为西的邦研究节也当过。你养的要命，也我滚到养大浪漫的，这边去也白了龙军，杀到南界原点，รับ着呢，多谢强烈过把牛多。